thanks for joining me on the mat today. I'm Imelda, and today we'll have a few nice moves and along with that, a couple of nice stretches as well. But before we do anything else, let's take our attention to our breath. Let's slow the pace down a little bit, do a little bit of mindful breath work before we begin our session. So let your hands gently float by your side and either floating your eyes closed or softening your gaze and glancing towards the floor, just take your attention to your breath. Notice the nice movement of your chest as you breathe. In Pilates, we talk about lateral thoracic breathing. So what we mean by that is that as you breathe in, your chest wall will drift wide. And as you breathe out, your chest will relax back to center again. So you won't really notice your shoulders lifting all that much. Either breathing in and out through your nose or in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now let's lengthen our breath cycle a little bit. Taking a nice long breath in for the count of 4. Hold for the count of 4. And then a nice long exhale for the count of 6. Let's take one more breath. And as you breathe out, gently float your eyes open. Let's briefly check posture in standing position. So some of the core elements of Pilates are the breath, your posture, particularly your spine, and then core engagement. So before we begin, let's look at your posture. Standing with your feet about a fist distance wide. Now point your toes forward if you can. Notice the difference if you've had to adjust them, how that might feel on your knees or your hips. And again, adjust if it feels a little bit awkward. Now you're lengthening upwards from your mat. Get a sense of stretching over your knee joint. Your knees are still soft, but there's just a lengthening there. Lengthening as well over your hips as you take your hips ever so slightly forward. Now let's lengthen your spine. Grow a little bit taller. Stretch upwards towards your ceiling, and then at the top of this part of your spine, take those shoulders nice and wide. So we're thinking of collarbones here in front rather than your shoulder blades coming too close together at the back. And the final part of our spine, we're thinking of the back of our neck. Lengthen through the back of your spine, that part of your spine. So your chin won't necessarily go any higher. It's this part lengthening here with your shoulders nice and low. Now notice, is there any difference to your posture now that you've made any adjustment? Come back here to center and draw your core gently back towards your spine. Just a mild engagement. Or in the first movements that we're going to do here today with challenging balance, get a sense of pulling up your pelvic floor muscles, another set of muscles we want to engage from time to time. So let's do that with our breath cycle. Breathing in, pull up your pelvic floor, but pull it back towards your spine behind, and then relaxing it as you breathe out. Let's do 2 more. Breath in, draw upwards and back towards your spine, and then gently let go. Let's do 1 more. Breath in and pull upwards, and breath out, relax. Let's move our body nice and easy. Breathing in, lengthen upwards, stretch your spine, and breathing out, gently lower your body. We're just doing a couple of movements in standing position before we get down onto the floor. Let's do 1 more. Breath in, reaching up, and breathing out. Now as you take your arms to the side, gently tilt one direction and then slowly over to the other direction. Notice how that feels on your spine. You're still holding your spine nice and tall as you gently lengthen from side to side. Now keeping your right hand up, take your right foot behind your left, ease over, gently stretching the outer part of your hip here. Slowly come back. Switch sides. The other foot is going behind, the other hand is going up, and you're easing over. Again, getting a nice lengthening on your spine and on your hip on this side. Now slowly coming back. Let's do a little bit of movement here that's going to challenge our balance a little bit. So feet are hip distance wide now. We've moved them ever so slightly. Take the weight of your body over towards your right foot and come onto the toes of your left. Let's move the body easy, moving your hands as well, if it just kind of helps to have a movement. So we're coming to tabletop position of the 100 as you bring your knee up and then back down again, bending your elbows. Let's do that with the breath. Breathing in to begin, breathing out, lift, breathing in, lowering back down. Now let's see if we can incorporate pelvic floor. As you lift your knee, draw up your pelvic floor muscles as well. Breathing, lift your pelvic floor and relax down. So the movement of your knee can kind of feel like you're lifting something else too. Let's do one more on this side, lifting and lowering down. Now placing all the weight of your body on that foot, come onto the toes of the other side. So we're briefly challenging balance here as we come up and down with our leg. Again, lengthen through your spine, draw your core back, breath in to begin, breathing out, float, and breathing in, return back down. Now again, if it feels okay, if it feels you can, pull up your pelvic floor a little bit as you lift your knee, and then relax your pelvic floor as you go back down. Lift and lower. Let's do two more. Briefly challenge your balance, coming to level 1 of the 100 briefly, in standing position, and last one, and relax back down. Let's come to the back of our mat and let's begin our movement with a little bit of a stretch on your hip joint first. So our first movement today will be side kick kneeling, but I want to do a little bit of a stretch to open your hip first. Let's step forward with your right foot, coming down onto your left knee. Now if you find that's a little bit of a challenge on your knee joint, you could put a cushion in under there. Flatten that foot behind if you can. Take your foot in front of your knee and ease forward, opening your hip joint. Nice and easy, get that stretch there, keeping your shoulders nicely back. And again, modifying the movement if you have any issues yourself around any joints. And then slowly come back. Let's go to the other side. So the other knee is down. Let's step forward with the other foot. Again, take it in front of your knee. The idea being that as you come forward with your knee, you don't have such a narrow angle then on your knee joint, and open this hip joint here. Relax your hands onto your knee and keep those shoulders back. Gently lengthen over your back hip joint. And now slowly coming back from there, come to the center of your mat, and again you're on your knees. So we're going to do side kick kneeling here. Feel free to put, as I say, a cushion or anything underneath you here if your knees are challenged in any way. Now I know from doing this movement in studio, it can cause a little bit of problem for people's hips if the leg stays out for a while. So what I'll suggest is we'll just move the leg in and out as we tilt to the opposite side. Again, in this position here, we're thinking of our spine, nicely long spine, draw your core back. Take your fingertips just behind your ears. As we tilt to the left, we'll take our right leg out. Breath in as you leg out and tilt. And relax back in. Lengthen and relax. Now if it's a bit of an issue to take your leg out, then you could just do the tilt and come back in. But as we do the movement with our leg out, it just means that we're getting mobility through our hip joint. But again, keep the leg out if you prefer and ease over and back. So I'm just going to give you lots of modifications. So if you feel it's okay to do it this way and there isn't any issue for your hip, continue doing it this way. We'll do two more. So you're using your core to pull yourself back up, ease back up, and last one, and come on back up. Bring that knee in. Now come down into your Z-sit position on this side here. I want to stretch the hip that we've just used there. So again, hands wide, fold yourself forward towards that leg to stretch the outer part of the hip that we just used there. Nice, easy lengthening on your hip joint. So important to stretch the joints for mobility and flexibility. And come on back in. Now bringing yourself back up to kneeling again. We're going to go to the other side this time. So again, fingertips behind your head. Modifications, moving just your upper body, taking your leg out as you go and then coming back in or leaving your leg out. I'm going to take my leg out. Breath in as you dip. Breathe out, slowly come back up. Keeping those shoulders wide and back. And using your core to come back up. So again, we're challenging the body by having your leg out in your hip joint. And we're going in a different direction with your spine than you would normally go in. Let's do one more. Ease over. And then gently back. Let's bring that knee back in. Before we get down onto the floor to stretch this hip joint, take your hands in front. Breath in, take your arms forward and tilt yourself back. And breathing out, come back and lower your arms. Let's do 4 more. Ease back, arms forward. So you're kind of keeping your hips forward as you go back. They don't sit back towards your feet. Last 3. So you'll feel that lengthening along the front of your legs and over your hips. That's 2. 1 more. Lengthen. And come on back. Now let's stretch this hip. Come into the Z-sit position on this side. Again, hands wide. Fold yourself over that leg, that hip joint, and get that stretch on the outer part of your hip there. Ease into the stretch. Again, making any modifications depending on what your joints are like yourself. And now coming back up from there, bring yourself to hands around here and uncurl your legs, lower yourself onto the mat and prop yourself up on your elbows. So our next movement here is going to be leg pull prone on your elbows, or as we know it as plank on your elbows. Let's set up for this one. I'll give you again various different modifications. Your elbows are under your shoulders. Now your hands are either flat, hands fisted, or interlaced fingers, whatever works for you. You're going to be looking at your hands all the time. Relax your shoulders, draw your core back from the mat. Legs are long, down from your hips so they're not you can't feel your legs one off the other. Let's press our elbows into the floor and lift our hips up off the floor and come onto our knees. So this is the one movement here, and what you can do is go to the next level if you wish. Stay with this one. But we're going to hold for another 5 breath cycles. Now if you can, curling your toes under, lift your knees off the floor. You're pressing your elbows into the floor and we're holding this position. So stay with whichever level you feel you can do yourself. You're looking at your hands all of the time, because that way you've good position of your spine. And when we talk about our spine, it's just not our back, it's in our neck as well. Breathe. 1 more breath cycle. And now relaxing your knees down. Place your hands one at each shoulder. Push yourself back. Let's get a little bit of a stretch in our spine after that one. So your hands are under your shoulders, your knees are under your hips. Push the floor away, arch your spine upwards towards the ceiling, and now holding that position there, slowly sit your hips back towards your feet. Nice slow movement as you feel that lengthening in your spine. Take it even slower. And if it feels comfortable, tiptoe your hands forward another little bit and stretch. And now slowly coming back up from there. Bring your hands back in under your shoulders, arch your spine towards the floor and look forward. So we're doing an upward and a downward position of our spine. Once again, push the floor away, arch your spine upwards towards the ceiling, holding that curve, slowly sit your hips back towards your feet. Nice easy movement, slowly stretching. And again, if it feels comfortable, tiptoe your fingers forward or walk your hands forward a little bit if it feels okay on your shoulders. And now coming back out of there, arch your spine towards the floor, bring your hands back in under your shoulders and you're looking forward. Now let's do a little bit of movement to strengthen our wrists. Come back into the center. What I mean by that is you did an upward movement and a downward movement. Now come back into the center for a neutral spine position and you're looking down towards your hands. We're going to do a movement to strengthen your wrist joints here. Breath in to begin, and as you breathe out, let your shoulders float forward of your wrist joints. Breathing in, return back to the start. Let's do 4 more. Forward nice and easy, and gently back. Ease forward, last 2, and slowly returning. This is to strengthen the wrist by putting a little bit of extra pressure on them. Slowly forward and slowly back. Let's bring ourselves around to seated and let's do a little bit of roll up from here. So again, various different modifications that you can make to the movement. Let's start with level 1. So let's place our hands here behind our knees, feet are flat. Now you're sitting nice and tall. We're thinking of spine and the position of it. We're lengthening through it and we're taking our shoulders wide. Breathing in as you round your lower back to the floor, gently going back just a little bit. Breathing out, curve the spine forward, lengthen through your spine, shoulders wide. Breathing in, rounding back, you're easing back. So your lower back goes towards the mat first. Then you're curving forward, adjust your posture and sit nice and tall. Let's do 3 more. Breathing in, round. Breathing out, back up and shoulders wide. Let's do 2 more. We're rounding back. Now you're using your core, soften your hands, not using your hands really to help you come back up. Last one, we're rounding back. Then we're coming back up to the start and lengthening. Well done, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that session with me today. Remember, keep moving, it's so important. And I look forward to seeing you sometime again soon on the mat. In the meantime, take care.